Hello, welcome back. This is going to be my first video for 2026 and it's a slightly different format because I do want to try out more new things this year in order to keep me excited, for me to keep producing videos. However, this format specifically is highly inspired by Mickey or Mikey Gavin. I'm gonna put her YouTube on here. I love watching other people's rap or book recommendations for the past year. So today I'm trying to do my own take, and I have read 34 books in 2025, which was a good year for me, not gonna lie. Normally I only manage to do 20 max. So today I want to talk about my 10 favorite books I've read last year. So if you have the goal of reading more in 2026 or want to hear maybe some new recommendations, buckle up. Little disclaimer in the beginning, books are not ranked in any form. It's just 10 books I enjoy reading most, and I just noted them down how I had them in my memory. So without further ado, let's jump right into the first one, which is The Safe Cab by Yael van der Wouden. I was initially reading this book earlier this year, but then it also, I think it got more publicity later this year after the book received an award for the Women's Fiction Prize. The Safe Keep is the author's debut novel. I love a debut novel, not gonna lie, and it is set in the 1960s in the Netherlands. The book is about a woman named Isabella who is enjoying living alone, but her life unexpectedly has to change when her brother asks her if his girlfriend ever can move in for a while, which turns Isabella's life as she used to completely upside down. It's a beautiful story, it's great writing, and I really do recommend this book. Also a short one for anyone who is overwhelmed by bigger books. Second on my list is The Wedding People by Alison Espeth. A woman arrives at a venue or at a hotel that should be actually closed off for public for the entire week or weekend. I can't remember specifically. However, that leads to an unexpected connection with the bride and a journey of personal transformation. I can't give away too much because if you read the book, you're gonna know why. Especially the first 30 pages are very, very important, and it kind of lay the groundwork for the rest of the book. However, the story does tick a lot of boxes that I typically enjoy having in a book. It's funny, it's also digging into the complex history of the characters in the book, and it even has a little bit of romance in it, even though it's not the main priority for the book. But thoroughly enjoyed it. I think it was hyped for a reason last year, so definitely, if you haven't read it yet, give it a go. The next one is Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. That is a gothic novel that is set in the early 1800s century, and it's about destructive love, revenge, and also a class conflict. It is not a romance, although I feel like, especially online, many people believe, or many people like to believe, that it is a romance, but it spans a multi-generational drama. It has a lot of unlikable character, or I think nearly everyone. I think for me personally, nearly every main character is in this book is slightly unlikable. It is also somehow also everyone is its own villain, and also the villain to everybody else. So that is an interesting mix paired with an unreliable narrator. The story initially focuses on Heathcliff and Catherine and its devastating impact for their families across generations, and I think that is more a side note to myself, maybe also for you if you're gonna read that. I had that book on a Kindle because I've read most big books this year on my Kindle, but this multi-generational drama is so complex. It also doesn't help that both the women in two generations are named Catherine, but it's just easier to go back and forth, maybe see a family tree in the front to just get a better understanding overall. Plus, I did read the book after it was announced that they are going to making a movie that is going to be released in 2026, and I am in anticipation of seeing that. However, after seeing the trailer, and I know, don't judge the book by its cover, or don't judge the movie by its trailer. However, I'm not 100% certain if I agree with the casting choices, and there have been a lot of controversy online regarding that as well. I think a lot of this book is about the class conflict. So casting Jacob Elordi, a white male actor, as Heathcliff, who is portrayed as a person of color or a dark-skinned character in the book, is interesting, to say the least. I'm gonna be curious how the movie is going to be good nonetheless, but I'm really excited to see it. So if you want to see the movie, please read the book beforehand. Next up, we have Milk Teeth by Jessica Andrews. This book is more a wipes over plot kind of story. It follows an unnamed woman, restless, and she's unable to define quite what she wants from life. She falls in love with a man who kind of seems to want her as much as she wants him. It's a beautiful love story set across England, France, and Spain. It's very short chapter length, which I think it makes it so much more easier if you, for example, read it on the train or the tube. But overall, enjoyed it. It was a good book mixed in between the heavy reads, not gonna lie. Next up, we have Fourth Wing or Iron Flame by Rebecca Yarros, or specifically the Empyrean series. I'm absolutely new to this world of fiction, and I also feel like a little bit late to the party, not gonna lie, but I still have Onyx Storm waiting for me on my Kindle because, as I said, I read a lot of books on my Kindle this year, but also these books are long, but they're long for a good reason, not gonna lie, and I really did enjoy fully diving into different universe in the adult fantasy novel genre. That was absolutely unexpected and new for me. As for the first book, it follows a 20-year-old woman named Violet who is forced by her mother to join the Basquiat War College and become a dragon rider in the Kingdom of Noir. If she's gonna make it, what's gonna happen to her? I'm gonna keep that one open for your imagination until you are gonna decide to read it, but I did enjoy reading it. It's a completely new world you're dipping into. I think I read both books on holiday while I was lying on the beach, and it was perfect. I created my own little universe back then. Probably the best book I've read all year was The Unbearable Lightness of Being by Milan Kundera. It's set in the 1960s in Prague, and the book explores love, freedom, and meaning through the intertwined lives of Thomas, his wife, Teresa, his mistress, Sabina, and Sabina's lover, Franz, plus a dog. A dog is also in the picture. I did really enjoy that the book, or the story, kind of explores the philosophical concept of lightness that you see in form of like freedom and detachment, but also the heaviness in terms of the meaning and the commitment in a different way, and I was really hooked. I think I read the entire book in like 2 afternoons in spring. Highly recommend that if you want to dive into something a little bit more philosophical. It's kind of a hard read for some, and I kind of get why, but I really enjoyed that. I have no degree in literature, and I wouldn't even say that I have a good understanding of any form of philosophical concepts, but that book got me. Another debut novel I read this year was Fundamentally by Nasbaya Yunus. Fundamentally follows Nadia, who is an academic doing her PhD. She's disowned by her mother. She's just got dumped by her lover, and she gets a call from the United Nations offering her an opportunity to put her theory into practice and lead a rehabilitation program. Not even a spoiler, but in short, she says yes. She's moving to Iraq, and it's a wild ride. Nadia, she's getting intertwined with colleagues She also meets a young girl named Sarah in the camp that I wouldn't say she sees herself in that young woman, but she sees a lot of similarities to their lives. And she also wonders how she can save someone who doesn't want to be saved. Overall, it's a really funny book, and I definitely give it a go. Next is Romantic Comedy by Curtis Sittenfeld. I think that is my first romantic book recommendation on that list. While I've read a few romance novel, I'd say most of them are like average and predictable. I wouldn't even say that this one wasn't predictable. However, it took me a while initially to get into this specific author writing style. However, I did end up finish most of the book in one afternoon, and the book follows Sally, who is a comedy writer. So if you think about Saturday Night Live, for example, SNL, so think SNL, and she falls in love with one of its show's hosts. Damn, how creative. But I'd say while the story isn't anything out of the blue, I really did enjoy getting a lot of inside knowledge on how comedy writers work, what's their schedule on a weekly basis, and how they manage to deliver consistently each week. It's definitely one of the lighter reads of this list, but it's still a pretty good book. 2 to go. Book number 9 is The Lonely City's Adventures in the Art of Being Alone. This one is a mix of a biography, a memoir, and a cultural criticism on the subject of loneliness, told through the lives of iconic artists. So if you think, for example, Andy Warhol or Edward Hoppers, and it's also touching a little bit on the AIDS crisis. The author is a British writer who moves to New York City in her 30s herself, and she experiences a lot of loneliness, and she writes about the particular flavor of loneliness that comes from living in a big city. You are surrounded by millions of people, and she writes about a particular flavor of loneliness that comes from living in a big city surrounded by millions of people, and her internal isolation and the absence of connection. Not a light read. It's a good one. Maybe pick that one up in summer if you don't want to go down bad in winter. And last but not least, I think that was nearly one of the last books I've read in 2025, was actually The Rachel Incident by Caroline O'Donoghue. It's a coming-of-age novel about friends, lovers, and Ireland in crisis, or Ireland in chaos, and a young woman desperate to manage all three of that. Rachel is a student working in a bookstore in Cork when she meets James, and it is love at first sight. And with love at first sight, I don't mean it in a romantic way. These two get inseparable, they move in together. And during the 2008 financial crash, Rachel and James focus on their friendship, their complicated entanglement with Rachel's married professor, leading to secrets, an abortion, and messy relationships. It's really funny, it's chaotic, and I think it's just overall a really great book that I think, even though I wasn't living in Ireland in 2008, but I think as a reader, you really get a feeling for how it was like living in that kind of time back in Ireland, struggling with all the struggles that they had to deal with. So that was a short run through of every book I particularly loved or enjoyed reading in 2025. Let me know what's on your reading list, or comment down if you have any book recommendations. Otherwise, see you soon. Let's see what formats I'm gonna come up with this year, and have a good day. Bye.